There's a lot of grievances that are easy to have with the justice system, especially when it comes to offenders that repeat their crimes over and over, and the amount of time that we give them. It can be utterly ridiculous how quickly a violent offender can be put back onto the streets to continue offending. And then, maybe we'll finally put them away once they finally finish what they started. And this is very much one of those stories, correct?
You know, what's interesting about this story is it's not just a repeat offender, because normally, they get out and they commit another crime, maybe a similar crime. This is the exact same crime. He got out and committed again a year to the day later.
Yeah. And
for a year, he'd been thinking about it. He knew exactly what he was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the second time he did it, it ended tragically. Well, it ended tragically both times. I can't imagine what this poor woman went through, but the second time was fatal.
It was a horrifying incident that occurred over the weekend in the broader Atlanta metropolitan area. A 20-year-old man, Cameron Ja'Michael Hopkins, allegedly shot and killed his ex-girlfriend during a police chase while he was out on bond for a previous kidnapping of this same victim exactly 1 year ago. Why are you out on bond for kidnapping? So, The victim, identified as 19-year-old Khaliyah Jones, fell prey to the unthinkable chain of events late Sunday night. Multiple 911 calls were received reporting a man armed with a gun who had kidnapped a woman from a Wingstop, according to a press release from the Fayetteville Police Department. Witnesses recounted that the suspect drove away from the scene with the victim in a red Chevrolet Camaro, setting off a police pursuit that spanned across multiple jurisdictions. Fayetteville and Clayton County Police Departments were involved in the pursuit, with Hopkins facing charges in both areas. The harrowing chase led authorities from Fayette County into Clayton County, where the suspect's car eventually pulled into the driveway of Lovejoy High School. The Fayetteville Police Department employed a PIT, precision immobilization technique maneuver, to halt the pursuit, forcing the fleeing vehicle into a sideways spin. The FTD's press release stated that multiple gunshots were heard coming from the suspect's vehicle, some of which struck a police vehicle. Officers instructed the suspect to exit the vehicle, but their commands were ignored. Ultimately, deputies in the Fayette County Sheriff's Department managed to deploy a less lethal irritant into the vehicle, leading Hopkins to exit and be taken into custody. However, the victim, Khaliyah Jones, was found inside the red Camaro, suffering from multiple fatal gunshot wounds. I guess I'm questioning if there's ever a time to shoot somebody and get them down so you can get to the victim. Now would be the time. Mm-hmm. It was revealed that Hopkins had allegedly begun firing as soon as the car came to a stop, with officers describing hearing several shots inside the vehicle and additional shots directed at them while they were still inside their vehicle. Thinking on that, too, maybe they had no idea there was a dead body in the car or someone that was dying in the scene.
And my guess is as soon as he lost control of the car, he knew it was up, and he did what he did. And I don't think they had a chance to help her.
You're probably right.
That's what now, that said, as we finish this story, I think had he not ever been out, that would have helped her. I think she'd be alive today.
Isn't that usually the answer to all these things, where it's like, had they not released this horrific blob of flesh in the first place from prison, none of this would have happened. But, the horrific incident was not the first involving Cameron Ja'Michael Hopkins and Khaliyah Jones. According to the Lovejoy Police Department, on Saturday, July 16th of 2022, exactly 1 year earlier, Hopkins allegedly kidnapped Jones for the first time. Don't you remember your first kidnapping with your lover? It's always a romantic night. During that incident, he was accused of forcibly removing Jones from her vehicle at gunpoint at a Walmart parking lot before fleeing with her. The prior kidnapping incident involved further disturbing details, with Hopkins allegedly contacting Jones' family members and expressing his rage over the end of their relationship. He reportedly threatened to shoot and kill Miss Jones if the police attempted to pull him over during that time. Even more shocking, as the time of Khaliyah Jones' tragic death, Cameron Ja'Michael Hopkins was out on bond for a range of charges related to the previous kidnapping incident. Those charges including Again, this is why you don't release these people, including terroristic threats, kidnapping, criminal damage to property, and second-degree possession of a weapon during a commission of a crime, and aggravated assault. Yeah, out in bond, what could possibly go wrong? I can't possibly imagine this person making any bad decisions that could result in bodily harm of someone else. Not at all.
In 1 year to the day, he'd been thinking about it. He knew exactly what he was going to do again.
He was planning it the whole time he was there.
And it makes me wonder, had he been terrorizing her this whole time he was out? Because I hardly think he was just like, I'm just going to wait until the anniversary date comes around and I'm going to do it again. You know, it just makes me think he's probably been calling her and messaging her and harassing her.
Mm-hmm.
And what protection is there for someone going through this? Like, he was charged with all of these things, and yet that's not enough to keep him in jail and keep her safe.
And then we wonder why people don't call 911 sometimes, or why they feel helpless and why they feel like they can't go anywhere and why they stay in these dangerous relationships. It's because we don't have very many resources that are readily or reasonably available to people at all.
Mm-mm.
I mean, if you want to go talk to a therapist or something, because we always talk about mental health, which is ultimately the root of all of this shit, you know, sometimes, number one, you need to have the money to do it. And if you don't, we have someone that can see you in about 3 months. 3 months down the road. Will that work for you?
Yeah.
No.
All the time that happens. And I'd be real curious to hear, and you know, in the next week or two, you'll hear stories from her family. So I got the feeling there's more even to this story than what's in this story.
I'm sure she's a victim of abuse and probably stayed contact of his at the very least.
He was out.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sometimes the victims aren't even aware.
And that could very well be the case where, you know, she wasn't like out for a nice, delicious Wingstop dinner with him. Now, was she? He kidnapped her from the Wingstop. So while she's sitting there,
stalking her, obviously,
enjoying the honey chicken, then he shows up and takes her out of the Wingstop. It's a horrible story, but another, what do we learn from this? That people are horrible, but there are ways that we have in place to actually prevent this sort of shit. How about we start using them?
You're logged into the Hidden Killers podcast.
Want more? Start binging on all of our true crime podcasts right now through Apple Podcasts and get an ad-free experience when you sign up to be a True Crime Today Premium Plus member exclusively on Apple Podcasts.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast dropping soon.
Press subscribe now.
You're consuming the Hidden Killers podcast.
Want more? Start binging on all of our true crime podcasts right now through Apple Podcasts and get an ad-free experience when you sign up to be a True Crime Today Premium Plus member exclusively on Apple Podcasts.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast dropping soon.
Press subscribe now.